Welcome back to Moneymakers. Well, small business always has one threat that inevitably will come to the surface for every business owner at some stage, and that's competition from a much larger player in the market.
However, there are ways for small business can manoeuvre around these larger peers. And to talk to us about this, we're joined in the studio tonight by Scott Driscoll, the Executive Director of the Retailers Association. Scott, welcome to the program this evening. What can small businesses do to really compete against larger competitors?
Actually, one of the greatest advantages small business has is to take on a point of difference and to utilise that point of difference to differentiate themselves, to give better service, to give better product range, and to deliver the outcomes that their customers basically want that their big competitors simply can't take the time to deliver.
With a range of new collective bargaining laws coming into effect this week, what use are they to small businesses in Australia?
Look, small businesses really need to get their head around this, but ultimately what they can do is get together with some of their peers, take an aggressive approach to basically getting the best possible deal that they can, pass on those savings to their consumers, and again, take the advantage over their larger competitors.
Does this have any impact for small businesses that might be, say, negotiating a lease on a premises?
Certainly, the collective bargaining laws can apply to lease negotiations, and they should. And where situations arise that a group of retailers in a shopping centre, for example, can actually take up the opportunity to get together, negotiate, go through the registration process so they are actually recognised as a collective bargaining collective, that is the sort of thing that they should be doing. And again, it's great for consumers when this sort of thing happens, and they can make a point of difference, a very real thing, and take a bottom line benefit as well.
What are some of the upfront pitfalls that small businesses should be avoiding when they look to sign those leasing agreements?
Look, I think the thing is a lot of small business people go in very enthusiastically. They have great hopes for their business, or they're already successful business people and they want to see it go to the next level. They really need to be aware, though, of where that next level is and to not do themselves out of the opportunity for either expansion or to continue in their present location. So options to extend leases are very important, and they should take into those negotiations with the person offering the lease the sort of armoury that they need to take into account where they want to take their business in the next 5 and 10 years.
We just had the Minister on a moment ago talking about the new industrial relations laws. How do you think they're going to impact small businesses?
I think, unfortunately, at the moment there's an awful lot of confusion. We really just got ourselves as an industry sector settled into some fairly positive and substantial changes under the former government's legislation. The sort of upheaval and the uncertainty that's there at the moment is not healthy for business, and we really want to see government explain exactly what their plan is up front and in advance, so that business can actually plan for the future and plan to look after their staff in the best possible way.
With small businesses right now, what are the staffing strategies that they can implement today in anticipation of these laws coming through to make sure they're best positioned to take advantage of them?
Look, one of the clearest ways that they can really modernise their workplace, bring about flexibility and ensure that they are taking full advantage of the laws as they stand, is to go into arrangements such as collective agreements with their staff. Basically, they take over from the award. All staff have a vote on the sorts of conditions and on the sorts of terms and so on that are taken into those collective agreements. Now, you can get an awful lot of rationalisation, an awful lot of flexibility out of going into those sorts of industrial relations products or offerings which the current laws and the new laws will actually cater for. So people should really look at that as a way of engaging their staff and making their staffing arrangements more flexible.
Now, we've all seen the turmoil in the finance markets at the moment. It's obviously an unprecedented time in history. This is starting to have a flow-on effect for small businesses, with it making it harder for them to get access to credit. Have you got any advice for small businesses out there as how they can best make do in the current situation?
I think the very best advice you want to be taking into any negotiation or in seeking finance is look around. Look around very, very carefully before you commit to anything. Develop a relationship with your financier that you're comfortable with to make sure that, again, your business growth can be catered to, that you have the sort of access that you need and the flexibility that you need. Now, certainly things have tightened up quite dramatically, but again, the businesses that we're dealing with, those independent small businesses, they have a lot of needs and growth plans, and certainly financiers need to be able to have that flexibility to cater to those.
With the larger companies coming in, and we've seen a lot of them really targeting some specific small businesses at the moment, very specific industries as well, What bodies out there, as far as the government or as far as organisation groups like yours, do you think should be standing up for those rights of those small businesses?
Well, look, the Retailers Association does that in a very proactive way. We certainly have thousands of members Australia-wide, all independent small business owners. And, you know, I think the government needs to recognise, and certainly the bureaucrats need to recognise, and government agencies need to understand, small business is a very important thing. It's great to see a recent announcement that the Shadow Small Business Ministry has been elevated to Cabinet. I would lay down the challenge to the Prime Minister. Do that in your own government. Do that at other levels of government across the country and in the states, because it's a massive industry, small business. We represent over 3 million Australian jobs, and it's critical that the government decisions are right around the future planning for small business, and that confidence is brought back into the small business sector, which is lacking at the moment.
What do you think that the confidence is having an impact on? Is that affecting things like spending?
It's quite a broad impact. It's impacting on spending, infrastructure expansions. It's impacting on staff. In the retail sector alone, we've done studies that are looking at the levels of confidence now. If projected over the next 18 months, you could see massive numbers of staff being left due to attrition out of the retail sector. We don't want to see those losses occur. There needs to be government-led revival of confidence in the sector, consumer confidence. There are ways of doing it. I just hope that the decision makers at the highest levels are actually very cognizant of the fact that you know, there are a lot of people out there that have got a lot at stake.
Now, if Prime Minister Rudd does follow suit and elevate the small business portfolio up to Cabinet level, what impact do you think that'll have effective immediately in Australia?
Look, it'll mean that organisations such as ours can go directly to a Cabinet Minister and put to them some of our concerns. I mean, we've got a laundry list at the moment of things that are basically very worrying. You've got, in the grocery retail sector, you've got Food Watch, you've got issues of creeping acquisitions, you've got the financial crisis, as you've said. Now, we need a seat at that Cabinet table. It's a massive sector when you look at small business as a whole, and the confidence that can come with knowing you've got a Cabinet Minister around the table is quite substantial.
What do you think of the effort that the opposition has made in its role as far as keeping the small business issues on the boil?
Look, I think both sides of politics really need to get very robust about this, and no one needs to be shy, because certainly this country's got a lot of challenges. Small business people are doing it tough at the moment, and consumers are being a bit sheepish about where they're going to put their money. So both sides of politics need to put their best people forward, their best arguments forward, and knock it out, so that basically the consumers, the business people and their staff are going to be the beneficiaries over the long term.
How do you see this impacting on the consumer? At the end of the day, they're the vital cog in this. How do you see it helping them?
Look, consumers need more choice, they need more options, and they need more information. And I think basically we really need to see a situation where they're more empowered. Certainly good policy and the ability for governments to lead the way, give consumers that confidence and get them back into the retail market with confidence is what we're looking for.
Okay, Scott, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thanks, Matthew.